Hey everyone, and welcome. Today we're going to tackle one of the most misunderstood and honestly most powerful tools in any writer's toolkit, the passive voice. Now, I know what you might be thinking, grammar, ugh, but trust me, by the end of this, you'll not only get it, you'll know exactly how to use it to make your writing sound clearer, more professional, and way more impactful. So let's jump right in.
Okay, take a look at this sentence. You've probably seen a headline just like it a dozen times. It's short, it's dramatic, it gets the point across, but there's something missing, isn't there? It tells us what happened, but it leaves this giant glaring hole right in the middle of the story.
Exactly. Who did it? That one simple question, by who, gets right to the very heart of what the passive voice is all about. It's a grammatical structure that, a lot of the time, deliberately hides the person or thing doing the action. And our job today is to figure out not just how it works, but why a writer would want to do that. So here's our game plan for cracking this case. First, we're going to investigate the case of the missing actors. Then we'll look at how the passive voice is all about shifting the spotlight. After that, we'll get into the nuts and bolts with the passive voice formula. We'll see it all in action with a delicious, chocolate-coated example, and we'll wrap it all up with mastery, the final rules to make you an expert. All right, first up, the case of the missing actors. Let's solve this mystery of who actually robbed the bank. And by doing that, we're going to nail down the fundamental difference between the active and passive voice. Okay, so here's the single most important difference, and it's actually pretty simple. In the active voice, the subject of the sentence is the one doing the thing. They're the star of the show. But in the passive voice, the subject is the one having the thing done to them. They're receiving the action. It all boils down to a choice. As the writer, who or what do you want to put in the spotlight? The actor or the result of the action? Which leads us perfectly into our next section. Choosing between active and passive isn't about right or wrong. It's a strategic choice. I want you to think of yourself as a movie director. You've got a camera, and you have to decide where to point it. What's the most important part of the scene you're trying to show? This example shows that shift perfectly. In the active sentence, Leonardo da Vinci painted the Mona Lisa. Who's the star? It's Leo. The camera is pointed right at him, the genius artist. But when we switch to the passive, the Mona Lisa was painted by Leonardo da Vinci. Suddenly the focus changes. The camera zooms in on the masterpiece itself. Da Vinci is still there, he's important, but he's not the main subject anymore. The painting is. So, when should you consciously choose to do this? Well, there are three main reasons. Number one, when the actor is a total mystery, just like our bank robber. We don't know who did it, so we can't say. Number two, when the action or the object is just way more important than who did it. I mean, we care that the pyramids were built, not so much about the individual workers. And third, it's fantastic for formal and scientific writing. It creates an objective, impersonal tone. Because the process, the solution was heated, is what matters, not the person in the lab coat. Okay, so you get the why, now let's talk about the how. This part can seem a little intimidating with all the grammar terms, but I promise it's actually just a simple, repeatable formula. And once you see the pattern, you really can't unsee it. It's a simple three-step recipe. Step 1, you take the object from the active sentence and you make it your new subject. Step 2, you add the verb to be in the correct tense. This is the absolute key. And step 3, you use the past participle of the main verb. The third form, like written, stolen, or eaten. So it's object plus to be plus past participle. That's the whole formula. And you can see here just how that formula works across different tenses. Look at past simple. Someone stole my bike becomes my bike was stolen. The verb to be changes to was to match that past tense. What about present continuous? They are repairing the road becomes the road is being repaired. See that? The verb to be is the chameleon here. It adapts every single time to carry the tense from the original active sentence. All right, enough with the abstract rules and formulas. Let's see how this all comes together in a real piece of writing. And just to make things a little more interesting, we're going to look at the history of chocolate. Bam! Right away, first sentence. Cocoa beans were grown. So why is this passive? Well, what's the story about? It's about the beans. They're the focus of this whole historical text. The Aztecs are definitely important, we see them right there, but the sentence structure puts the spotlight firmly on the ingredient itself. Oh, this is a fantastic one. It was believed. Believed by who? Well, by people in general, right? In this case, the Aztecs. But when the doer of the action is this general, undefined group, the passive voice is perfect. It makes the statement sound authoritative, like a widely accepted historical fact. Now, this is just classic process description. Anytime you're explaining a sequence of events, like in a science experiment or a manufacturing process, the passive voice is your best friend. The focus is on the steps in the process, the producing, the harvesting, the drying, not on the thousands of anonymous workers who are actually doing each task.
And for the big finish, check out the impact here. Billions of dollars are spent. The writer wants you to be stunned by that huge number, by the result. Who spends the money? Well, all of us, I guess. But by putting billions of dollars right at the front, the sentence becomes so much more dramatic and powerful.
Okay, you've seen the why, you've seen the how, and you've seen the when. Now let's lock it all in with the final rules. These are the pro tips that will take you from someone who just understands the passive voice to someone who has truly mastered it. Here are 3 things to always remember. First, the by phrase. You only need to add by someone if that someone gives important new information, like in Harry Potter was written by J.K. Rowling. If the actor isn't important, just leave it out. It's cleaner. Second, and this is a big one, the passive voice only works with verbs that can have an object. You can steal a bike, you can paint a picture, but you can't sleep something. The action stops with you. So you can never ever say, I was slept. It just doesn't work. And finally, one last reminder. Master the verb to be. It is the engine that makes this entire thing run. So let's bring it all home. Look, this isn't just some dusty old grammar rule. This is a practical, powerful tool. The next time you're writing an essay, a lab report, or any kind of formal work, using the passive voice in the right way will instantly make you sound more objective, more scientific, and more professional. It really is a sign of a confident writer. So please don't think of this as just a rule you have to memorize for a test. Think of it as a new lens for your camera, a new tool in your toolbox. The power to control your reader's focus, to highlight what truly matters in your story, is now in your hands. So the only question left is, what story are you going to choose to tell?